How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Killmark Collectors. I'm Brandon, and this week we're going to be talking about the insurance system and how broken it is and what Netease really needs to do to fix it. So, without further ado, let's jump in and get started. There are a lot of other videos that have explained the insurance system and the way that it works in pretty good detail, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to do that here. Now, in the previous video, I listed off a couple of ways that you can get your ship back, and the insurance system was the first one of those. And in that video, I said that you can love it or hate it, but it is there. And that's true. I both love it and I hate it. As a PvP player, I really love the fact that I can get my ship back very quickly and relatively inexpensively. But as a long-term advocate for this game, I think that it's really going to do more harm than good. So what I want to talk about today is 6 ways that I really think that Netease can actually fix the insurance system. I think that we need to address the elephant in the room here, and that is that as much as we would like to say Netease is doing this out of the goodness of their heart, they are a business. They're trying to make money, and this is an easy, quick way for them to do that. So any solution that we propose, I think, has to balance a couple of things. On one hand, you've got Netease and their need to actually make money to pay their developers and continue developing and supporting the game. On the other, you've got the players and the consumers who are going to be spending their hard-earned cash. In a perfect world, these two things would line up pretty well and we wouldn't really need to worry about it. But unfortunately right now, it does feel very heavy on the Netease needs to make money side of things, and very light on the player choice and consumer value. Any solution that I'm proposing here, I think needs to be balancing those two components of Netease making money, player choice, and also speed. The faster that these things can be implemented, the better off the game will be in the long run. I also want to add one other disclaimer, and that is that I have not talked to the devs. I do not have access to anything that y'all don't. This is simply me kind of thinking about the problem and trying to come up with some creative solutions that work for everybody. So with that, let's get to number 1. The biggest issue with the insurance system is that these ships do seem to be coming straight out of thin air. And it discourages players from being industry players. It discourages mining because it's going to depress the price over time because there's just not the demand. We've already seen a pretty big drop in ships, but I think that there's a pretty easy solution here. And that is that Netease could simply have a universal buy option that any builder could fulfill from any NPC station. This isn't the real physical world. We don't have to actually move ships. Netease can do that with just a simple script or something like that to move them in the back end. So by allowing players to fulfill these buy orders, I think it would be really, really simple. The other thing, too, is that the price could fluctuate based off of the demand. So if they have 1 million stabber fleet issues, the price goes down. If they only have 10, MOA 2 Guardians, the price goes up. This is something that we have in Pandemic with our web app. The prices fluctuate with supply and demand. So I don't think that this would really be something that's crazy for Netease to do. Number 2 is that I do think that you kind of need to have hulls be the only thing that can be replaced. Now, I know that the price of rigs has shot up a good bit in a lot of cases because people are more willing to get the tier 3 rigs because they know that they can get them back every single time. But it means that those rigs, the tier 3 rigs, are obviously very expensive, but the tier 2 and the tier 1s have gone down to nothing. It's really kind of crazy. And what that does is it prices a lot of players out of the market. If I'm solo ratting, I'm probably going to be looking at Inquisitor 6, 7, 8s. I'm probably not going to be doing a 10 by myself, whereas that's what I really need to really cash in on some of those tier 3 blueprints. So I do think that it needs to go back to being just hulls. You also then don't have people exploiting the system to basically strip the rigs off their ships and add them back to other future ships. Number 3 is that I do think that the timers need to be extended. As it stands right now, I can lose my ship in a PvP setting. I get it back in 12 hours. That sounds like a lot at first, but when you think about it, if I lose my ship at night, I say, oh, well, that sucks. I go to bed, I wake up, I go to work in the morning, and then by the time I'm ready to actually play again, I've got everything back. And again, as a PvPer, I think that's awesome. But I think that if you extended out the time frame for maybe even the full price ship, so that if somebody loses a battleship, they have to wait 5, 6, 10 days, it's going to make players more willing to buying additional ships to stock their hangars with so they can keep playing while those timers are running out. They could offer like an expedited option where you could pay potentially the full amount of that ship in Plex and be able to get that ship back immediately or just at a lower time. Again, balancing the Netease needs to make money while we also want the players to have options. I think that would be a great compromise and solution so that Netease actually ends up getting a little bit more revenue, but then the players are also encouraged to still buy other ships from the market. Number 4 is just like in the real world, where if I get in multiple car crashes a year, my insurance premiums go up. There should be some penalty for losing multiple ships. As you lose more ships, your insurance premiums should go up. And I don't think that this is unreasonable because it adds a little bit of the risk back into the calculation. If we think about the way it is today, no matter how many ships I lose, I still have a 30% of my total fit available to be insured. But let's say that instead I have to insure it at 40% if I have lost another ship within a week. Maybe it's 60% if I've lost 2 ships in that week, whatever it is. I think it would be great to see something like that. We know that Netease already tracks some of this information. If you look back at the customer service and the ship replacement that they used to do, they could tell when you had your last ship recovered, and there was a window of time where you could only, I think, 1 every 7 days for a PvE loss and 1 every 30 days for a PvP loss. So if they just did something similar, they've already got the tracking, they've already got all of that, I think it would be really easy. And again, it gives Netease a little bit more income and it adds a little bit more risk, more of a decision for the players back into the game. Number 5 is that I think they really need to start putting insurance vouchers into scout anomalies. As it stands today, scouts are more or less worthless. Up in Garista's space, it's kind of a joke to see a scout anomaly because nobody actually wants to run them. So why not put something in there to actually make it worth running? If you put an insurance voucher, that can be worth, 3-4 million, something like that. And then that would allow you to be able to give players the option of continuing to buy insurance vouchers with Plex or to go ahead and grind and get that the same way that they would just buying Plex with ISK today. It would make scouts attractive targets for more PvP as well. And so again, you'd probably see an uptick in the actual number of ships lost because there would just be more kind of gathering points for players. Number 6 is that there does need to be something to re-inject Plex back into the market. This one's a little tricky because it is technically taking money straight from the developers. One of the big selling points of the insurance system was always that it would quote unquote not be a Plex sink. And that just hasn't turned out to be the case. We buy Plex, it goes right back into the insurance system and it's gone. We're never going to see that Plex back in the environment. I think that Plex is always going to go up in value, especially as we get more players who don't necessarily want to pay real money. But that was one of the things that Netease told us was that it wasn't going to be a Plex drain. So with that being said, I think that there needs to be some mechanism for players to get discounted Plex or to do something, even if it's very limited. You can only buy 100 Plex a month at this discounted rate or whatever it is. It would be more of a goodwill gesture for Netease. But I also don't really think it's going to happen because, like I said, it does take money directly out of their pockets. So who knows? We'll see what happens, but I think that it would go a long way for a lot of players. So that's it for this week, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think these are good suggestions? Do you think they're utter crap? I don't really know. Hopefully Netease will see this as a sign that we are continuing to have the discussion and that we as the players are willing to work with them to come up with some creative solutions. As always, if you can give me a little like and a subscribe down below, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're interested in joining more of this conversation, we are having them on the Discord for the Silent Alliance. There's a link down below. You can apply to the Pandemic Corporation and join us there. So thanks again. Have a great week and fly safe.